The gentle journey along the Mississippi River. On a quiet spring morning, as the first golden rays of sunlight touched the water, an old riverboat slowly drifted along the mighty Mississippi River. The air was cool and fresh. Birds sang softly from the trees lining the shore, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers across the water. On the deck of the riverboat stood a man named Samuel. He was not young anymore, but his eyes still carried the curiosity of a child. For many years, he had dreamed of traveling the entire length of the Mississippi River. Now, finally, that dream was coming true. Samuel leaned against the wooden railing and watched the sunlight dance across the river. The water moved peacefully, reflecting the sky like a giant mirror. Everything felt calm and unhurried. As the boat continued southward, small fishing villages appeared along the shoreline. Wooden docks stretched into the water, and fishermen prepared their nets for the day ahead. Smoke rose gently from chimneys as families woke to begin another peaceful morning. Samuel smiled. He felt as though he had stepped. As the morning passed, the river widened. Tall cottonwood trees swayed gently in the breeze. Their reflections shimmered in the water below. Samuel sat in a wooden chair on the deck, listening to the rhythmic sound of the paddle wheel. The steady splash of water against the boat created a soothing melody. A flock of white pelicans glided gracefully across the sky. Samuel watched them disappear into the distance. For years, he had worked in a busy city surrounded by noise and deadlines, but here, none of that seemed important anymore. The river asked nothing from him except to be present. That evening, the sky transformed into a masterpiece of orange, pink, and gold. The river reflected every color perfectly. It seemed as if the boat were floating through a dream. Passengers gathered quietly along the railings to watch the sunset. No one spoke much. Words felt unnecessary. Samuel thought about the many journeys people take in life. Some are fast and difficult, others are slow and peaceful. The Mississippi reminded him that every journey has its own beauty. As darkness slowly settled over the river, lanterns glowed softly along the deck, creating a warm and welcoming atmosphere. As the afternoon sun warmed the deck, Samuel closed his eyes and allowed himself to relax completely. The next morning brought a light mist that hovered just above the water. The world seemed wrapped in a blanket of silver. Samuel awoke before sunrise and stepped outside. The river was almost silent. In the distance, he could hear the gentle call of birds greeting the new day. The boat moved carefully through the mist. Everything felt mysterious yet peaceful. Samuel took a deep breath and smiled. Moments like these were impossible to buy or replace. They were gifts from nature itself. As the fog lifted, rolling green hills appeared along the shoreline. Farmhouses rested quietly among fields of corn and wildflowers. Children waved from wooden docks as the boat passed. Samuel waved back and felt a sense of connection with the people living beside the river. Though they were strangers, they all shared the same sky, the same water, and the same peaceful morning. The simplicity of the scene filled his heart with gratitude. For the first time in many years, he felt completely content. By midday, the riverboat reached a small riverside town. Colorful buildings lined the waterfront. Local musicians played soft melodies while visitors strolled through the streets. Samuel spent several hours exploring the town. He visited a small bakery and enjoyed fresh bread while watching boats drift by. The relaxed pace of life felt refreshing. No one seemed to be in a hurry. Everyone moved as calmly as the river itself. That night, a blanket of stars covered the sky. Far away from city lights, the stars appeared brighter than Samuel had ever seen. The river reflected thousands of tiny lights. It felt as though the universe itself had descended onto the water.
Samuel remained on deck long after most passengers had gone to sleep. The cool night air and gentle movement of the boat made him feel deeply relaxed. He watched the stars until his eyes grew heavy.
Days passed peacefully. The river twisted and turned through forests, fields, and quiet communities. Each bend revealed a new landscape. Sometimes Samuel would read a book. Other times he would simply sit and watch the water flow. He discovered that doing nothing at all could be surprisingly rewarding. The river taught him patience. It taught him to appreciate small moments. One afternoon, a gentle rain began to fall. Tiny drops created countless circles across the water. The rain brought a soothing rhythm to the journey. Passengers gathered under covered sections of the deck and listened to the peaceful sound. After the rain, a rainbow appeared across the sky. Its colors stretched from one side of the river to the other. Everyone on board stopped to admire the beautiful sight. Samuel felt like a child again. Simple wonders often bring the greatest joy. The rainbow slowly faded, but the feeling it created remained in everyone's hearts. Samuel enjoyed watching the distant shoreline.
As the journey continued southward, the weather grew warmer. Magnolia trees lined sections of the riverbank. Their sweet fragrance drifted across the water. Samuel spent hours sitting quietly beneath the shade canopy on the deck. The gentle warmth of the sun relaxed every muscle in his body. He felt lighter with each passing day. One evening, Samuel met an elderly storyteller named Henry. Henry shared tales of riverboats, explorers, and adventurers from long ago. His voice was calm and comforting. The stories seemed to blend perfectly with the peaceful surroundings. Samuel listened carefully, appreciating every word. Each story felt like a treasure carried by the river through generations. Near the end of the journey, Samuel realized something important. The river had not simply carried him across the country, it had changed him. The worries he once carried seemed distant now. The constant rush of life no longer felt necessary. He had learned to slow down. He had learned to appreciate the beauty already surrounding him. The final morning arrived quietly. The river shimmered beneath the rising sun. Samuel stood at the railing once again. He watched birds soar above the water and listened to the familiar sounds of the boat. Every moment felt precious. Though the dream was ending, the peace it had brought would remain with him forever. As the riverboat reached its destination, Samuel took one last look across the Mississippi River. The water continued flowing steadily toward the horizon. It had flowed long before his journey began and would continue long after it ended. Samuel smiled softly. Some journeys change your location. Others change your heart. This journey had done both. With gratitude and peace, he stepped off the boat, carrying the gentle spirit of the Mississippi River wherever life would take him next. The end.